Real important question in my book is, when can you actually stop saving for retirement? And I think a lot of us should be thinking about doing that. Let's go for a walk and I'll tell you how to think about it and why I think it's important that each of us, to the extent we can afford to, stop saving for retirement. And I think it'll bring a lot of joy to your life. So, you know, if you think about the value of a dollar, not just from a, time value of a dollar, but from the utility standpoint, how much joy can you get from your money? And if you can stop saving for retirement sooner rather than later, you're probably going to get a lot more joy and have a lot more adventures from your money in the next 5 years than you will in the 5 years after that and the 5 years beyond that. And when you think about it, it just makes a lot of sense, right? None of us are getting younger. At my age and older, very few of us are getting much healthier. Hopefully when we retire, we'll have more time to spend on our health. So maybe we do get healthier. But there are these time periods in our life when we can enjoy things that become harder to do later in our lives. So I think for many, many people, the utility, the joy per dollar that we're going to be able to get is really high. I mean, at one extreme, think about it. If you live to 90, how many trips do you have to an African safari? Hopefully we can all do that, but just as a silly example, you probably aren't going to be able to do that. So the value of your money is quite a bit lower as you get older. So how do you know when you can stop saving for retirement? It's kind of heresy for a financial advisor, but I think it's an important part of my job when I'm dealing with my clients, particularly if they enjoy their work and they plan to continue to work for another 5 or 10 years. Their life is going to look very different in 5 to 10 years. So how do you know when you can stop saving for retirement? I'm just going to give an example. Let's say that you're saving $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year. And you've saved up and now you have $800,000. There comes a point fairly quickly where the growth of your account dwarfs the value of the money that you're putting in, right? I mean, we need the time value of money. We need the compounding to grow. And now you're at the side of the curve where your money's working harder for you than you are working for money. And the incremental value of an extra $1,000 a month, the incremental value of $12,000 a month, frankly, doesn't move the needle that much for you from a retirement savings standpoint. But from a joy of life standpoint, it could make a big difference. Actually spending that extra $1,000 to spend the money on something that you really value and really gives you joy. And I just want you to stop and think about it, right? How much extra is that 12? And your fee-only financial advisor, I should mention, this is not financial advice. I don't know your situation. I do think it makes sense to work with a fee-only financial advisor. Admittedly, I'm biased, but how much does it really move the needle once your accounts are starting to grow at $60,000, $70,000 a year on average, outside of what you're putting in? I would argue you're probably much better off and you're maximizing your joy, you're maximizing your adventure, and your pleasure that you're deriving from life, and can have a positive impact on people's lives by not trying to save that money. Instead, let the money that you've already worked hard for work for you. You've heard me mention on this channel before that, in many ways, what we do early in our lives is we're sacrificing. Today me is sacrificing for tomorrow me, right? I talk about not lifestyle creep, not letting that happen. When you get a raise, half for today you and half for tomorrow you. But there also comes a time where tomorrow you has to give to today you, if that makes sense. So you're not saving as much for tomorrow you because you know that version of you would say, hey, enjoy this money. For instance, I've shared on this channel before, when I was in college, I had a good time in college. And for a financial advisor, you know, I've always been a good saver, but I had my junior and senior year in college. I decided I was going to enjoy those 2 years. And I'm really, you know, now that I'm turning 59 here soon, I'm really, really glad that I decided to do that. I bought a used sports car. I bought a motorcycle. Thank goodness I never hurt myself on that motorcycle. It would have been easy for that to happen. But I bought a couple things that I said, you know what? I think when I'm 59 years old, I'll be glad that I spent my money that way. And I want you to think about balancing out what you're saving for tomorrow you. And I do think for many of us, tomorrow us is going to say, boy, I'm really glad you spent that money. It's almost like, you know, when they shoot a cannonball out of a cannon, it kind of has this arc. It goes high and then it comes back down, right? And you want to make sure that you have enough money so that you don't outlive your money, right? That's what everybody is fearful of. But you probably want to stop saving sooner. Think about that cannonball in its arc. You know, a lot of people keep saving all the way to retirement, and then when that cannonball comes down on the other side, folks find that they have millions of dollars that they've saved. Now, granted, that's a good problem to have, but if that came at the price of giving up adventures, giving up fun opportunities, giving up the ability to maybe help your adult kids along the way, I think that's a big price to pay. And I think for a lot of us, we don't have to pay that price. So I think it makes sense to enjoy some of that money and to give ourselves permission to enjoy that money when we're younger. And then also, you know, I just mentioned a few seconds ago about helping our adult kids. You know, for a lot of people, their game plan is, you know, I'm going to leave my kids an inheritance if you leave them anything. But like, you know, my mother is 87 years old. And, you know, when she passes, you know, frankly, I don't need money now. You know, I've got my own money. And so part of my game plan, one of the things I work with my clients on is, when is the right time for you to share some of that money with your kids? There's a really good book that talks about this and stopping saving earlier than most people think. The book is called Die with Zero, and the author's name is Bill Perkins. And it talks about both of these topics, and I think you're going to be really glad that you read that book. It's kind of a life-changing book. I've mentioned before, I actually thought about writing a book like that, and Bill Perkins did such a good job. I don't have to write that book. So read that book, Die with Zero. People have left in the comments how valuable and helpful it is. People have also told me they really enjoy these next two videos. This video up here that talks about average income in retirement, and this video that down here that talks about 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.